Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing some more Historic Best of 1 with a deck that I was actually originally building, expecting it to be a mana burn video, but after recording today, it actually has a slightly over 50% win rate. So, yeah, I'm actually, honestly, really surprised that this deck is not complete garbage. Today's deck is going to be built around probably one of the cards that started the Mana Burn series, actually, which is Indomitable Creativity, one of my favourite cards to come from Kaladesh Remastered. So this is a triple red and X sorcery speed card that says destroy X target artifacts and creatures, for each permanent destroyed this way. Its controller reveals the top card of their library until an artifact or creature card is revealed and exiles that card. Those players put the exiled cards onto the battlefield and then shuffle their libraries. So essentially what this is a mega polymorph for those who are kind of well entrenched into Magic. We're going to be destroying something to get something out of our deck. The way that this deck is built is essentially by guaranteeing what we actually hit off of Indomitable Creativity, or almost guaranteeing anyway, because what we're going to be trying to do is Indomitable Creativity X3, and we've got 4 targets in the deck. We'll get to those in just a second. What I will say about this one is whenever I've done an Indomitable Creativity deck in the past, people have asked me why I don't include certain cards. So I'm going to go a little bit into the deck building restriction on this one so that you guys get an idea of why I won't be including very powerful cards. Things like Mind Stone, for example, that allows you to get to Indomitable Creativity really quick. Well, if we have Mind Stones in our deck, that means when we sack Mind Stones to the Indomitable Creativity, which also we can use to generate the mana, sounds really good in theory, but we also have a chance then of hitting other Mind Stones that are left in our deck. So for that reason, this deck building restriction means that we can't have creatures, so mana dorks, for example, and we can't have mana rocks either because they're artifacts, and we don't want to hit any of those things. So we're going to have to do a little bit of a different strategy to build our deck and ramp into the X3 Indomitable Creativity. Luckily for us, we've got enchantments. So we've got 4 copies of Wolfwillow Haven, a 2-mana land enchantment, essentially. So whenever our land is tapped for mana, it adds an additional green to our mana pool. And we also have Gift of Paradise as well, which does the same kind of thing, except for this one also gains us 3 life and fixes our mana as well, since that triple red is kind of a little bit of a restriction, despite the fact that we're actually skewed a little bit more into the red to make good use of it. Most of our deck actually is red for the most part, so the only really reason we need the green is to ramp into our creativity. But this just means that we don't have to run mana dorks like Llanowar Elves or Paradise Druid. We can run the enchantments as well instead of the Mind Stones and things like that, so that when we sack an artifact or a creature, which we do technically kind of in a roundabout fashion have in our deck, then we know what we're going to hit. The things we're going to hit are Angrath's Marauders, Samut, Voice of Dissent, Majestic Myriarch, and Terror of the Peaks. These are 4 very specific cards that do a very specific thing. One of the things that they do is they are castable. That's the start of why I'm including these. You can include all sorts into this deck, because Majestic Myriarch is kind of the janky bread and butter of this one. So we'll start off with that one. It's a 5-mana XX, or Star, whatever you want to call it. Its power and toughness are equal to twice the number of creatures you control, and then at the beginning of each combat, Majestic Myriarch gains flying until the end of the turn if you control a creature with flying. The same is true for First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, Vigilance. So essentially it takes on all of the characteristics of every other creature we have on our battlefield, or on our side of the battlefield. So if it comes out with Terror of the Peaks, it will gain flying. If it comes out with Samut, and this is a reason why we've got Samut in the deck, it will gain Double Strike, Vigilance, and Haste, and also give other creatures we control haste as well. So, you know, the other creatures that come out with Samut will also have haste ready to attack. We've got Angrath's Marauders, which says if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So this one combos really nicely with Terror of the Peaks, which when this enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to the creature's power entering to any target. So in combination with something like Majestic Myriarch and Angrath's Marauders, these could be the 3 that we hit. because we won't have haste off of those because we missed on Samet. Terror of the Peaks will deal double the amount of damage of Majestic Myriak's power, as well as Angrath's Marauders. So it will enter, it'll deal 8 here, and then this should enter as a 6/6, so this will deal 12 as well. So pretty decent. It will 20 your opponent just off of those alone. If we've got Samet, then it will come into play with something like Angrath's Marauders or Terror of the Peaks, giving haste, which means Terror attacks for 10, Angrath's Marauders attacks for 8, and Samet attacks for 6, but with double strikes, so that's 12. So again, another way that we can actually close out the game that way. And obviously, if we get Majestic Myriak, as long as it comes out with Samet, then it's going to be able to close out the game as well, probably being something like a 6/6 hasting, flying, double striker, something like that. And in combination with Terror of the Peaks, that's pretty decent. So yeah, any combination of these three is usually enough to win the game on its own, so we really don't mind what three we hit. But there's also just that little bit of janky flavor, I guess, the reason why I've actually gone for 4 instead of 3 to guarantee what we'll hit. It just means if we draw one of these cards, which we don't really want to be doing most of the time, then we've still got 3 left in the deck. And we also just have that little bit of variance from game to game as well to keep it interesting. You know, we don't want to just hit the same things over and over again, because then the deck will just do the same things over and over again. We want a little bit of variety, because that's the spice of life, eh? So how do we get these out? Because we've just mentioned that we need to destroy artifacts and creatures, and I'm not running any. What I'm actually doing is running sorceries that generate creatures or generate artifacts. So, Forbidden Friendship's the worst of the combinations here. It's a 2-mana sorcery that creates a 1/1 dinosaur with haste and a 1/1 human soldier creature token. So that's 2 of the 3 we need for the Indomitable creativity. It's not ideal. We do still need probably 1 more creature in play. So we can do that with a Perforce's Intervention, which an X0 of this will make us a 0/1 elemental that we can sack. So for 1 extra mana, we can generate that token, but it will have to be sacrificed at the end step, which is totally fine. We can also, off of our Wolf Willow Havens as well, we can sack them for 5 mana to create a 2/2 wolf creature token. Probably never will be doing that most of the time, since the Perforce's Interventions and the Forbidden Friendships combo reasonably well together to not force us into doing something like that. The big one, though, is going to be Giant Opportunity, a 3-mana sorcery that says we may sacrifice 2 foods, and if we do, we make a token. Otherwise, we create 3 food tokens. Well, 3 is exactly what we're looking for, so Giant Opportunity is essentially our combo piece, giving us the 3 food tokens that we'll sacrifice to the creativity, turning those 3 food tokens into 1 of these 4 creatures, or technically 3 of these 4 creatures. We can, of course, go for an X4. It's not as likely to happen, and it's not required. It's just overkill and pretty funny when it happens, I suppose. But yeah, it's an option. As far as generating the combo is concerned, we have a little bit of card filtering. We've got Fire Prophecy as a 2-of. Deals 3 damage to a creature, so it's nice creature removal to buy us some time. And when we use it as well, we get to put a card from our hand on the bottom of our library, and if we do, draw a card. So we can put any of these 4 onto the bottom of our library if we don't want them in our hand anymore, and we can redraw them to find our combo pieces. We don't actually shuffle in this deck, so whatever you put to the bottom with your Fire Prophecies or your Mulligans or your Valakut's Awakenings will stay at the bottom, and you can actually, at that point, you can guarantee what the creativity will hit. So you get a little bit more of an informed decision on your X3 as to whether or not you actually need to go X4 or something like that, or when it's actually good and safe to play that kind of card. So that's nice as well. We got Sweltering Suns, we got Hour of Devastation. These are going to be our sweepers to make sure we stay in the game. Hour of Devastation, all creatures lose indestructible until the end of the turn, and deals 5 damage to each creature and each non-bolus Planeswalker. We have plenty of ways of dealing with Planeswalkers. Hour of Devastation and Perforce's Intervention, dealing twice X damage to a creature or Planeswalker, is usually pretty decent as it is. Otherwise, it's mostly creature removal in here so that we don't die to the aggro decks. So we've got Sweltering Suns, and if we don't need it, we can cycle it away, because we don't care too much about exiling them with something like Anger of the Gods. I'd much rather, as a combo deck, be able to get rid of this card if it's useless against control matchups, than exile certain cards that probably will be really bad tempo for our opponent trying to reanimate anyway. But yeah, finally, the Velica's Awakening, as we've mentioned, is a land, so we can make our land drop. We're running 23 plus the Velica's Awakening, so we make sure that we hit our land drops more consistently because we're running extra lands in this deck technically. And we can also use this one to build up our combo, putting any number of cards from the bottom of our library and drawing that many cards +1. So it replaces itself and any other card in our hand, should we choose to do so. Finally, we've got 2 copies of Abrade. We can use this to get rid of Grafdigger's Cages, which do stop Indomitable creativity to an extent. We don't actually have to use it that way, because what we can do is we can target our opponent's things with this. So we just make sure that when we go for an Indomitable creativity, we go X4, we target 3 of our food tokens and 1 of them at the Grafdigger's Cage, so that we can use our ability, essentially. So keep that in mind. We can use the Abrade, though, just in case we're under a clock and we have to go for an X3, because then obviously we're going to have to force 1 to hit the Grafdigger's Cage, and we're only going to get to pick 2 of these cards, which may or may not be good enough. But yeah, that's essentially the deck. The mana base is all dual lands. It pretty much speaks for itself. There's no shuffles in this deck, as we mentioned, so anything that goes to the bottom stays at the bottom. But most of the time when you're mulliganing, if you're going to go to a brand new 7 and any of these are in your hand, you want to put them at the bottom anyway, so that actually benefits you more than it hurts you. So the London Mulligan coming in clutch on this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Before we do go into it, I suppose we could open up some packs. So we got some Zendikar Rising. Good luck, chat. Thank you. Let's see what we get. Rare wildcard. Thank you, chat. My lucky charm. Let's see what Kaladesh Remastered gets us as well. Survey says a mythic wildcard. Thank you very much, chat. Told you. You're my lucky charm. That's why I like opening up packs during videos. But yeah, if you do enjoy the content, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, all that jazz, and let's continue, shall we? This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alright, let's have a look at this nonsense. It looks like solid nonsense to me, so we're going to keep this hand. We've got our payoff card. We just kind of need artifacts or tokens to target with it. Technically we have 1, but I probably won't use that for that usage. Second creativity's fine if our opponent's running counter magic. Looks like they're actually on a combo list. The Neostorm, most likely. So, might be a little bit of a race here. But with Giant Opportunity, that means we've got 3 food tokens. So we just need to get to 6 mana. No problem, right? No problem whatsoever. Give me a land, please. I don't think it's Neostorm. That's a really bad draw, is what that is. Okay, well, I'm just going to gift up my forest then for a little bit of extra mana. Hope for the best. Yeah, I would have much preferred a land drop there. For obvious reasons, I would imagine. And then I'm kind of hoping that Sweltering Suns looks pretty good. This doesn't exile, does it? No. Temur Elementals. It's not really what I was expecting. Fire Prophecy. I actually think I will Prophecy the Llanowar Elves here, because that gives me an opportunity to put Smut in the yards. And if we draw a land, then we get to play Giant Opportunity, and then we've got 3, 4, 5... We're 1 land off of Indomitable Creativity. So a land drop is, like, amazing. We can get 3 out of 4 of our things. We're not going to hit Smut, so it's going to be Marauders, Miriarch, and Terror of the Peaks. Don't know if that's good enough. Ew. Yeah, this is kind of where I was expecting it to go when our opponent wasn't Neostorming. And this is just fun ruining. Alright, there's the land. So we've got everything we need to do an X3 creativity. I could do an X4 if I waited and drew a land. Is Marauders and Terror of the Peaks just good enough, though? I think it might actually be. So let's do an X3. 1, 2, 3. Put 3 perms into play. Boom. Okay, so this is going to deal 8 and then 12. Yeah, this is good enough to win, I think. Right? Oh! Oh! Oh, fantastic. Alright. There's a little bit of jank there, but, you know, who's surprised at all, to be completely honest. Yeah, if we had Samut, then we would give Majestic Myriarch, was it Double Strike, Haste, Vigilance, something nonsense like that, and then we'd get the flying off the Terror of the Peaks, so we'd probably be able to do a decent amount off of that as well. Okay, alright. The main issue would be if we didn't have the victory there that our opponent has an Ugin in those 3 cards. Y'all know he does. Y'all know they do. So we just get Ugined and lose, most likely. Although, maybe our opponent swings out and we make an intervention token and finish the job. Who knows? Anyway, next game. Okay, we're in. We've got a decent mana base, we've got our creativity, we do have a smut that we'd like to put back in our deck, and it will put it to the bottom as well, so we got to bear in mind that we won't have these abilities. We could always just keep it and flash it in, of course, but where's the fun in that? Alright, but we're keeping this hand though, because I think most top decks, other than more of our creatures, are pretty good here. So we'll go our Stomping Ground tapped. Try and work towards our Gift of Paradise. We need to find... probably at this stage a Giant Opportunity would be the best thing, because that will give us 3 tokens to target. Let's see what we do from there. Speaker of the Heavens. Alright, so it's Soul Sisters. Hour of Devastation could be pretty good if we can get there early enough. 5 damage to each creature and each non-bolus planeswalker. Ooh, green-white. We got our Giant Opportunity as well. Oh, this hand is shaping up lovely. Alright, so I'm going to put Gift of Paradise on the Forest so we can turn it into red mana for the Indomitable Creativity. Not that it really matters because we have this mountain, but something to keep in mind. And then we're hoping that our opponent plays something pretty big here. Considering they didn't play anything pretty big there and we're only getting hit for 2, I'm probably just going to play my Giant Opportunity. Well, that's why we have a Braids in the deck. Just want to make that pretty damn clear. Although we can actually destroy it, funnily enough. So there's also that. I think... for now, I'm just going to go with a Giant Opportunity. Let's get 3 artifacts. Let's pass the turn. And see how we get on. So it's not normal for you to actually target your opponent's stuff. But if we absolutely have to, then obviously we're going to. Alright, so that gained them 4 life. Don't remember if they gained 1. Yeah, they did from the speaker. Okay, fair enough. Up to 31. I'm gonna need this smut. Pretty nice board you got there, opponent. It's a shame if we'd enter the Hour of Devastation. Boop. So they can keep one thing with Selfless Savior, except for all creatures lose Indestructible. So, about that. They can for science it, I suppose, and we'll, you know, see if... see if the game's bugged or not. As it turns out, it isn't. Bishop of Wings. So, 1, 2, 3. We do need an X4. So I'm going to go with Valakut's Awakening here. And I'm going to flash in Samet, I think, against our opponent's stuff. They shouldn't see it coming. And then next turn we should be able to swing for a hefty amount. So I'm going to block the speaker, because they can turn that into an angel, and we don't really want that. Shalai. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Okay, so we can do this X4, which is all we really need to do. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Pay for that. Gets rid of the ability to stop me putting things into play. We can shoot the Shalai. It's the only target for us, unfortunately. And then we get swinging. Send it. It's a lot of damage. This is our entire board, though, so if they do have board wipes, we're in trouble. But I do dare say that we should have enough here. So we got the Fire Prophecy, which is worth 6 from the Angrath's Marauders. So the 4 angels, not enough. Wow, seriously? Huh. They do run board wipes. That is impressive. It truly is. Why do they run board wipes? No one will ever really know. Scholars will question that as the days go by. So I guess I just kind of need to beat down with my tokens. Hope that we get like a Perforos's Intervention, maybe. Otherwise we're kind of stumped. Hour of Devastation. I can't really afford to use that, so let's go with Valakut's Awakening. I'll get rid of both, just so we draw 3. Yeah, we can make an 8-8 with our Giant Opportunity, I suppose, after the next one. Hope that's good enough. Our opponent honestly might have stabilized, judging by the fact they also have Resplendent Angel, and we've just drawn a land, so... Yeah, I guess that's it. I guess that be it. So they get +2/+2, gain 5 life up to 15, and make a 4/4. I can only hit them with an 8/8, and I'm dead probably in the air now. Yeah. Green-white angels running board wipes. Takes the victory, unfortunately, especially on a top deck as well. Little salty, not gonna lie, but it is what it is. Okay, on the play, we've got plenty of tokens, we've got the Gift of Paradise, so we just need to find our payoff combo cards, and I think the rest should just naturally come together as we go. So we'll drop down a forest. Opponent's on mountains, eh? Alright. It should be okay. So if it's mono reds, we'll want to find our sweepers, most likely. Carry Zev. Carry Zev is one of those cards you want to kill immediately, I think. So let's just do that. Twice X. And we got a land drop here if we really want it, otherwise we can use it to find our combo piece. It's hard to say which one we should go with. I think maybe just use it as a land drop. Because before I find Indomitable Creativity, I need to be at 6 mana anyway. Anax. Okay. We found it. Alright, that makes everything so much easier. So let's go with Gift of Paradise here on a mountain, I guess. Probably should put it on the forest, but here we are. Mana's fixed, so not too much to care about. Alright, so we just need to play Giant Opportunity, and then we should win the turn after, off of a land drop along the way. Obviously, if we're not dead. That's a big deal. you know. There's this Anax here, which we do have to kill. Giant opportunity. Yeah, so that's kind of the issue right now, is that I need to kill Anax, which means I can't do what I want to do. Because if they have... Well, if they have Embercleave, we're dead, right? Are we dead without Embercleave? Taking 7, 8, 9... plus another 4 mana's worth of stuff. We could take a risk. Yeah. I'm kind of not against taking a risk here, and then maybe just going for a Perforos's Intervention. Twice 1. We'll just kill Fervent Champion, I suppose. Let's take a pip off of the Anax. Hope for the best. So if we draw a land, we can X3 Indomitable Creativity. Opponent has a Hazoret. Could be worse. Could be worse. Right? Could be worse. We could not draw a land. That's what we could do. We are literally untapped lands into X3 Indomitable Creativity, and then we leave this up to RNGesus as to whether or not this is good enough. Okay. So, hit face, send it in. I love this deck. It's so good. Opponent couldn't even get me into the minuses. What kind of mono red do you think you are? Eh, this is the real mono red. Indomitable Creativity. Good stuff. Okay, we're in. On the play with a Wolfwheeler Haven on 2 for the Giant Opportunity on 3. It's not a crazy hand, but it's playable. So I'm going to give it a shot. More mono red, eh? Firebrand you don't see too much these days, so maybe we're looking at Cavalcade, maybe? I don't know. It's the last time I saw that card for sure. I'm not sure if it's a meta call or anything like that. Oh, you are a goblin, I suppose. That does make some sense. Alright, so we're just playing against Muxus. So any amount of creativity is dead. Alright, let's go with the pathway. Let's make some food. Pass ye old turn, so please give me Indomitable Creativity so we can end this game soon. So Raminat Ruins on top for the Snoop, so nothing changes there. We could go with a Goblin Matron, which would allow them to reset the top, and if they had something like Krenko Mob Boss, they'd be in a good spot. So this is an awkward situation for sure. I think we are going to go with the Giant Opportunity. I don't really want to sack 2 of my foods, because that would leave me with a bad creativity top deck, to be honest. Alright, so Snoop is now Prospector, so if they have Muxus in hand, then they can play Muxus. And then, you know, Prospector just guarantees they can just keep on chaining Muxuses until I'm dead, so... Only way we survive this is if our opponent doesn't have it, and we draw a Wrath or our Creativity. So we have a couple of draws that are pretty good. We could do even Valakut's Awakening into Sweltering Suns. There's a Goblin Chieftain. I've got too many food tokens as well, so I can crack a couple. But I don't even know if I could be asked doing the math on this one as to whether or not we're dead. We're probably dead, but maybe not quite, who knows. Alright, let's just give him full priority. Let's gain 3 life. Up to 17, am I dead? I'd love to see a top deck, but yeah, it looks like we're dead. Oh, no! Xaxes? That's so rude. That is so rude. Well, we'd have actually potentially won that game if we'd have just found a sweeper. We've got 5 in the deck, so, I mean, it's unlikely that we don't find any removal throughout the game, but here we are. We didn't. We only had giant opportunities and land drops, so can't really do much with that. Okay, on the draw, we've got the ability to make a couple of tokens, which we don't really want to do before we Hour of Devastation, but I'm going to keep this hand anyway, because the Wolfwiller Haven allows us to accelerate a little bit. It's probably our best way of accelerating, to be completely honest, so kind of hope that we can do something good with a turn 4 Hour of Devastation. Or play Magic at all. Please don't be mono blue tempo. It's everywhere today. It really is. So if you ever wanted to play Magic, now's not the time. So there is that. I don't know. Maybe someone in this world likes being tortured by mono blue tempo, but I'm not one of them. Alright, so they mulled to 6. Yeah, it seems like 50% of my games are either mono blue tempo or mono red goblins. 2 of my most hated decks of all time, so yeah, I'm not feeling particularly welcome in this this ranked queue right now. It is mono blue, and they're not doing anything, so high tempo. How's it going? What a miserable experience you are. Blue-white, maybe. Okay, so it's control, so it's also equally really horrible for us. Okay. Well, we're going to pass. We're going to play our stuff on their turn when we can. Thirst for Meaning. Alright, so I'm going to get rid of the cards that I think are pretty terrible here. So Angrath's Marauders we don't want. Hour of Devastation is fine, actually, because Big Tef ticks up to 5. So we can kill him with that. We want to keep our Indomitable Creativity as well. So get rid of those. Doesn't matter the order. Alright, well, we dumped a card we didn't want to see. And gained another card we didn't want to see. That's a big ouch. So right now, X3 Creativity is Myriac, Smut, and Marauders. That's actually a winning combination as it currently stands, if we can resolve that. Okay. We do need the ability to make some tokens, though. I was expecting to draw into a giant opportunity, to be completely honest. Because I don't think Myriac Marauders is a winning combo, so we can't do an X2. Because we'll just do that and they'll Shatter the Sky, Wrath of God, pick your poison. It'll be one or the other. Alright, well. I'm just going to throw this out there into counter magic. Just means that Indomitable Creativity is less likely to bite the dust, and if they're running Shatter over Wrath of God, then we get to draw a card off of this terror, which is fine. Either way, could not care less what happens to this card. Okay. So they're going to let it go, plan on wrathing / removing it. And they've got a Wrath in hand, because you wouldn't dump a Wrath of God there, unless you did. Could be 5 Fairy with a Tuck. Which, if we had Giant Opportunity, would have been a great time to play Indomitable Creativity. As it stands, we're just going to draw lands until the end of time. So, get in for 5. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Some interesting timing there. I guess they figured they want to see my follow-up. Because if I play anything extra into that board, then they'll want a Wrath over Casting Out. We know they've got a Wrath because you don't throw it into the yard. Unless you have one. More lands. That's the game we're playing today. Yeah, I think the real issue here is that we need to resolve 2 spells. Ugh. I think we can win through that, actually. No, we can't, actually, because we've lost our Terror of the Peaks. Well, in that sense, this is not too bad. So if I got Smut and Miriarch, Forbidden Friendship would be good enough. As it stands, I don't think it is. Because it's also very likely to get countered. Our opponent taking 10 minutes to decide whether or not 2 power on board is worth countering says a lot. So I'm just going to hit them until they're forced to use Wraths and tap out and whatnot. They're at 5, so when they get to 7 they can search for his counter, and that's probably when the game's over. Birth of Miletus. So the interesting thing is we actually don't want to hit Terror of the Peaks at all because of Leyline of Sanctity. It forces us to target our own stuff. There's Big Taff.
Trust me. Thank me. Hurry.
Could our opponent fall into a trap here where they lose? In theory, I dare say they could. So they have enough for 1 counter magic. I could go for the Hour of Devastation. Then, when they counter it, to keep Teferi around, I have an X2 creativity. If I hit Samet and Majestic Miriarch, I think that's 11 points. So let's go for it. I can replace these tokens anyway. Alright, we just can't hit Miriarch Marauders. We're not going to. Oh ho ho. 1, 2. Target those. Our deck's actually stacked already. We know what we're gonna hit. Haste, double strike. Send the last 4 points in with the extra 3. Oh my god. Wow. Punished for protecting your win con. That was great. That one I very much appreciated. That was not a matchup I expected to win. If they'd have gone for Absorb over Neutralize, it would have actually been on exactly 0 as well, so yeah, it turns out that the little pings from our friendship tokens actually went a long way to winning that one. Good lord. And any longer as well, they'd have this 0-4, which could block Miriarch, and then the Wrath after that, almost certainly. You know they've got a Wrath, though. The amount that they dumped into their yards just says too much about what their hand is. It's probably Wrath and another... maybe another counterspell? I'm actually not sure what their other card could be. This would have been brutal as well. It's a good job it never actually came down. This is not too bad for us if we have Terror of the Peaks, but the fact that they had Leyline of Sanctity meant that I couldn't target them. So Terror would have had to target me or my own creatures, which, not ideal. I think it goes without saying. But yeah, good stuff. Alrighty then, let's have a look. We've got none of our combo pieces, but this does have Ramp and a Valakut's Awakening. And we're on the play, so it's kind of hard to not take a hand that looks like this, honestly, because I think we can do reasonably well delaying the game, unless our opponent's playing some hyper combo deck, which looks like it's not going to be the case. This Hour of Devastation is going to be pretty damn good. By the way, Indomitable Creativity, hello, nice to see you. So we're a giant opportunity away from winning, probably. Alright, looks like it's going to be Gruul aggro. which is an annoyance, for sure. Question is, do I kill the Zertar Goblin, or do I go Gift of Paradise, which basically negates its damage, and then next turn we could go for an Hour of Devastation and wipe. Yeah, I think we probably just want to be quite efficient with our mana. Let's put a Gift of Paradise on there. Let's negate the Zertar Goblin. Be efficient with our cards as well, because we know we're going to be able to wipe the board next turn, and our opponent's not going to be able to help themselves but go with a Spellbreaker. Yeah. There was a chance that they might have gone like Burning Tree into loads more Burning Trees, as they do. They are known to do that from time to time. So I was hoping they'd combo those cards together, but this is just fine. The issue we're going to have is not finding giant opportunities. We don't really have time to just, like, continually take haste damage. So, you know, I can kill this questing beast, which leaves me with 3 mana, and then we can go with a Valakut's Awakening to try and draw extra cards. I don't know if we can race this, though, if our opponent just continuously has haste creatures, though. Well, they don't. So, sweepers are not bad for us either at this point, but I think we just want a combo, to be honest. So, I need to keep my creativity. Let's get rid of that. Ew. Big ew. Alright. Let's go again. Let's get rid of these 2. There's a giant opportunity. Okay, so if our opponent went Questing Beast, we'd be taking 7. They could do Zertar. That's probably not likely to happen, considering they didn't play one. I think I'm just going to go for Giant Opportunity. I think it's relatively unlikely that we lose here. That's spooky. So that's just Embercleave. Okay. There's a Perforos's Intervention. So I've got red, red, red. 1, 2, 3. So I have to do... It's going to be Samut, Terror, and Angrath's Marauders, which I think is enough damage, actually. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Because we know we put Majestic Myriac to the bottom. Yeah, this is going to be more than enough, because I've got this damage here, and then I've also got haste off Samut, and they can't really do anything with the 1 mana they've got remaining to stop dying there. Alright. Pretty good. Taking down Gruul aggro with, I would say, a pretty reasonable hand from them. Questing Beast, Spellbreakers, Zertars. They had Pelt Collector on curve as well. And they even had an Embercleave. There's not really too much more that you could expect from our opponent's hand, except for maybe this card being a Burning Tree Emissary, but I imagine if it was, it would have probably died alongside the rest when we went for the Hour of Devastation. So, again, I think we probably... I don't think our opponent could have really beaten us there when we were doing our thing. Obviously, if we'd missed our combo pieces, we were done for. I think that's pretty much a given, but we did, so we won. Good stuff. Alright, on the draw, removal.deck over here. I think I'm going to keep removal.deck. And hope that it's pretty reasonable. So we don't have a turn 1 play, so we might as well just go Stomping Ground tapped. Gives us some reasonable cards to play around with our opponents. Got a black Mind Stone. Maybe this is like mono black artifact controls, so their top end's like Ugin. We do just kind of win out of nowhere, so that wouldn't be too much of a problem for us. And I'd really hope that I could actually use Fire Prophecies on something, but it doesn't look like that'll be the case. I mean, we can potentially, if they activate the Guardian Idol, which is unlikely, but if they do, we can Fire Prophecy it and punish that. Just looks like Chromatic Black to me. I think I'm gonna cycle Sweltering Suns. It just seems like a bad card. Try for a land drop. No, better than nothing. I do need those land drops. I guess maybe I should have kept the Stoneforge actually to get rid of some of these cards because they all seem pretty damn dead. Yeah, that was maybe a mistake on my part. In case they've got Field of Ruin, we want to stick this on the mountain. And then pass the turn. I dare say most of their hand is like removal at this point. And there's Ugin the Ineffable. Okay. So we can Hour of Devastation that. It's not too much of a problem. We can also Fire Prophecy the token, which allows us to get rid of one of these bad cards. I think I'm actually happier to do that, to be completely honest. Alright, well, we made a land drop. 2, 3... It deals to Planeswalkers, doesn't it? So I could do twice X damage. I need to do X3 to Ugin. Let's get rid of him, and then we'll pass with Sweltering Sun's cycle at the end of the turn. As we mentioned, they could equip up the Guardian Idol, which would open up my Fire Prophecy, which is kind of nice. Not exactly giving Big Ugin much of a target here, so I don't know whether or not they'd care to -2 to get rid of Wolfwiller Havens, or even notice, because they're quite well hidden under that mountain. I'd really rather they didn't, of course. Giant Opportunity. Ooh, okay. So, if our opponent... Actually, if we draw a land, it doesn't really matter what our opponent does at all this turn, I don't think. So, I would love to see Guardian Idol get animated. I've said that 15 times, but I really would. That would just increase the odds of us drawing a land here. Which, you know, guarantees Ugin -2 is not actually a problem. A little spooky on their mana, though, because now they've got activated Cabal Strongholds. But it looks like it might not be an issue. There's another Giant Opportunity, so we could get all 4 of our creatures in play. I could already do that, though, right? If I go X0, the Perforos's Intervention. No, I'm 1 short, actually. Let's just do another Giant Opportunity then. Sack 2 foods? Nope. Let's try and get some removal out of their hand, because it's probably stacked right now. So let's just do an X3 token. Send a 3/1 in to get cast down, or whatever they want to do with that. Disfigure? Yep, cool. Alright, a big tap out from them that's not... what's its face? The big black X spell. Can't remember its name. That would be pretty abysmal if they have it, though. Maze Mind Tome? Well, they don't. Not just yet, anyway. That's fantastic. Alright, that is a big tap out. And that should mean that we can win here. So now I can do the full X4 on my Indomitable Creativity, which gives me a pretty reasonable board state with some ETBs as well to trigger. So removal in response isn't as strong. So 3 triggers here, they should kill them on their own. They can get rid of the Marauders to halve the damage, but then they also have the haste straight after that. 16 points of damage just off the Miriarch alone there. Yeah, they had to have a little bit more than just one removal spell, really, to survive that. They needed to get rid of Marauders to stop the double damage off the Terror of the Peaks, and then they also had to get rid of Samut as well to stop the haste swinging in, and also giving double strike to the Majestic Myriarch. There were so many things that could have gone horribly wrong for us there, but they managed to tap out, and we got the victory. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I didn't actually think I'd get all 4 out in one go, to be honest. This deck is honestly designed just to do 3 in one go, and pretty much any combination of the 3 is enough to win the game most of the time, when your opponent can't really interact with it anyway. So getting 4 has been nice, actually, for the end of the video, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as well for more nonsense like this in the future. And without further ado, gonna end it here. Take care, guys. Have a good night.